Lighthouse Section 1. Admissions. Our first section of this Lighthouse training is to probe some key andragogical questions in higher degrees. A PhD and Research Masters must have three parts: admissions, progression, examination. And all of these parts have different requirements from a supervisor. So let's start with the key questions in admissions. When we admit a candidate to our program, how important is the candidate's ability? How important is the topic? And are there predictors of success and failure, completion and withdrawal in doctoral education? And perhaps most importantly, what is your role in the success and failure of your PhD candidates? Now, we all know students, maybe you were one of those students, but we all know students who passed with absent or poor supervision. But is that what you want for this university? Is that what you want for students? And of course, is that what you want for yourself? The supervisory relationship is a key to the successful and quick completion of a doctorate. Indeed, 50 years of research reveals the difference between a student that finishes and one that does not is supervision. So therefore, let's start with some questions for you. How do you know, upon receiving an email or meeting a student face-to-face or via Zoom, if the student has the ability to complete the doctorate? What are the proxies that enable you to make that decision? What are you looking for? And what are the right attributes to look for? Similarly, what is a prospective doctoral candidate looking for? What are their proxies for successful supervision? And how important are publications, scholarly reputation, and prior completions? So let's start with the admissions process. You may receive an email from a prospective student asking you to be their supervisor. That's brilliant. Okay, so what do? The first stage is a really simple one. Do you want a PhD or Research Masters student? And if you don't, please reply to the student. Please reply. Don't just delete the email. And then if you don't want that student as your student, then send that query to me. And I'll work with our admissions colleagues to find a supervisor for that student. When we admit students into a higher degree, we take a risk. I'm not a Time Lord, although I certainly wish that I was, but if you're thinking of taking on students, the first thing to do is to ascertain their eligibility. So a 2A or first class honours, a Research Masters qualification, they are the easiest pathways into our program. But alternative pathways are increasing. It is important, even at these early stages, to get a sense of the whole person. Now, I took on a student with 2B honours from the English system. So in other words, it was an honours program finished in 3 years. And that PhD went on to become a book. He was and is an internationally famous musician. I assessed the portfolio of his career and I let him in, and that was a correct decision. But it certainly was a risk. And there are ways to mitigate those risks. The key is to enact a skills assessment. Are they able to complete a PhD now? And if not, what are they going to need? Now, we use the phrase, particularly in Australia, we use the phrase research training a lot. I'm not a big fan of this phrase, but it holds international currency now, and one of the reasons that these training sessions exists and that they're mandatory in Australia is our students are required throughout the program to exhibit research training, and that research training is supplied by their supervisors. So if you're not clear about research training, then we are in trouble. But let's drill down into what research training means, and that'll help you, it'll help students, it'll help our colleagues and the university. But you may note that the phrase research training and how you consider that definition changes over time, it changes over our careers, and it also alters between disciplines. But let's focus on the core ideas. Okay, research training. So yes, methodology, ontology, epistemology. Can the student write? can the student read? Have they got project management skills? Have they got information literacy skills? Now, if we can answer those questions, that's a pretty good start. So let's consider the admissions issue. It is important to balance social justice and opportunity with an open and honest discussion of the possibility of the student finishing that degree in the minimum time. But admissions to our program, well, it's just not simply about the student. It's about you. It's about the supervisor. A great doctoral candidate's project can be destroyed by poor supervision. Lives can be destroyed, money, time wasted. We have an incredible duty of care for these doctoral candidates. CDU operates, like most universities, a supervisory register. And yes, registers work at the compliance end of the spectrum to ensure that every single HDR student at CDU has a minimum standard of supervision. We enforce research activity in our supervisors. 5 refereed articles must be completed in a 5-year period. Now, yes, research activity is a proxy, probably an inelegant one, but a proxy for research ability. But it does mean that you have been verified time and time again by referees, by scholars in the field. You've been verified as working at an appropriate standard. It shows that you are in command of academic protocols. But it also shows that you're active in your field. The characteristic of a PhD is that it makes an original contribution to knowledge. So how do you know that a contribution is original if you're not making those contributions yourself? Our students, let alone our quality assurance agencies, require an array of markers and indicators that we as supervisors remain scholarly learners, engaging with knowledge, being research active, and continually improving our andragogy through professional development, like this Lighthouse session. So, the compliance elements of our policy are this Lighthouse supervisory training, entry into the supervisory register, yearly assessment of the register through research activity. You must hold a qualification to supervise it, and you must undertake a short professional development session each year termed our Touchstone program. The Touchstone program involves 10-minute sessions on a wide diversity of topics. So you choose a session that's appropriate to you, your discipline and your academic career, and you write 250 words in reflection. You must hold academic status of some kind. That is, you are an academic at CDU, including emeritus status. You hold an adjunct appointment with our university, with great respects to all our adjuncts. You must be available for the full candidature. You have the time to give the student, and you're not leaving the university. As a supervisor, therefore, you have very many responsibilities because you plan, you enable the resourcing of this project. You monitor research training and practice, ensuring compliance with the Australian Code for the Responsible Conduct of Research, with its quite demanding new edition in 2018. You must be able to demonstrate strong communication skills with your student and co-supervisors, be available, responsive and reflexive in your supervisory practice, monitor progress, teach the student as much as guide them, and yes, probably the most important job, select and recommend examiners. This is an incredible array of functions, but you do have the policies and the procedures to guide you. The key links are on the CDU website, and you have outstanding Associate Dean's research in your faculties. You have me, you have our colleagues in graduate studies, some of the best staff I've ever worked with. You have our colleagues in ORI, the Office of Research and Innovation. You have our colleagues in student finance and our remarkable library and librarian colleagues. So use these resources, please. You are not alone. We are here to help. Because doctoral education is daunting. It is, but you have a network of support around you. Don't panic. You are cared for. Any questions, ask them. We have an array of duties of care for our doctoral candidates. And if we stuff up, we take their dreams away from them. We take their aspirations away from them. We take their futures away from them. And we damage their bank balance, their family, and their friends if we stuff up. This is enormous. So therefore, this moment of admissions is marinated in responsibility and risk. But all these decisions and structures are required, and we need to make some very important decisions at the very moment we are admitting a student into our program. But I also want to confirm that Charles Darwin University has a fully digital doctorate. Students can enrol in a higher degree and move from admissions to examination in a fully online form. Professional development is also fully online. We have a weekly online writing group called Write Club. You have one rule? Right. That also is open to everybody, and a lot of our colleagues from regional Australia and our international students join us every single week for Write Club. We have a weekly digital office hours session for any queries or questions or advice or commentary. So as you see, this is a fully immersive digital experience. These programs from graduate studies exist for all our candidates, and they can be used from anywhere in the world. Therefore, in your decisions about admitting a student, we can support you, we can support that student throughout the CTU footprint, which of course now includes the world. Admissions is the start of an extraordinary moment for a student and a supervisor. We need to ensure that you know what we're looking for in a student, and you are able to set that candidate up for success. And that is our next section in our Lighthouse training.